Welcome to the Housing and Redevelopment Authority meeting for Cook County, October 16th, 2024. We'll begin, first I note a quorum with Commissioners Hanson, O'Brien, Olson, and Gabler. Approval of agenda is item number 1. Is there a motion or discussion?
I'll move to approve the agenda.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approval of the September 2024 meeting minutes. Is there a motion to move that?
I move to approve.
Any?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any comments or corrections noted? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion, minutes are approved. The opportunity for public comment is next on the agenda. We have a member of the public in a manner of speaking.
Board, Ryan Nelson with P&R Companies and Gunflint View LLC is here, as is Kyle Anderson of the same, and so we're getting to an agenda item there shortly, so if they could probably speak to answer any questions, unless, Mr. Nelson, if you had anything you wanted to say out the gate, or do you just want to stand for questions?
Let's stand for questions.
Okay.
On to new business, Resolution 2414, authorizing the First Amendment to restated development agreement with Gunflint View LLC. Jason, you want to
Yes,
fill
Chair.
us in?
So I sent a lengthy email to the board. I'm sure you had fun reading lots of things. As the resolution describes and the agreement shows, the IRRR had a previous program. I think it was called the Community Infrastructure Program. No longer exists. The three programs or three grants that we've recently received in 2024, earlier this year, March, were under the housing program. And the difference, there have been several differences, but the primary difference here is that there's a different understanding of what constitutes a project in those two different programs. And so the Gunflint View, previously Switchback Village, and then Sawtooth Flats before that, that's what was applied for originally in 2022, December of 2022. And that was through the EDA under a program that no longer exists. So all of that's to say some things have changed and things were complicated. And the developer and I realized in August that there was a discrepancy in our understanding of what the project definition was. So we had several long conversations, myself with HRA staff, with the developer, with board chair, and we determined that to be able to honor the intent and the rule of the grant agreement, that the developer determined they weren't able to abide by all of the terms as they understood them. So in light of that, unfortunately, the decision was, well, we can't accept the money from IRRR if we can't adhere to all the terms as they require. And since then, of course, I have scoured over the other things to make sure there were all of the other grants that we've received we're understanding, and those are all fine. This is of course, the single one. So in light of that decision, this resolution and the amendment removes the IRRR portion from the agreement. And as everybody knows, everybody's disappointed, including IRRR. And it was not an insignificant amount, and it was so it's okay. So the resolution proposes to terminate, again, the IRRR portion, remove that from the original agreement, and then also to allocate the 180 that was allocated for Yorkburg to help fill the gap, and then an additional 20. And in the conversation and the message I sent to the board, I laid out that we're in a financially healthy position at the moment. So we have pre-development and development funds to do just that. And then the developer has committed to filling the remaining gap for the project, because obviously they're well underway and invested and they want this to be successful. And I'll say, we wanted it particularly to make sure to keep the rent restricted units and make this still a mixed income project. And they are still committing to doing that if the HRA is willing to assist with these additional funds. It was a lot, I understand, it's a complicated situation, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to try to tackle them.
Jason, is the change in understanding of the scope something that would have, you said you checked the other projects that are IRRR funded, and the understanding there is is clear. Do we know whether the broader scope that interpretation will apply for future projects?
Being put to a project, the whole project, unless otherwise specified. So this is why you can see there's some ambiguity there with the, for example, Temperance Trails or Yorkburg project. The project was presented as, before the board, and how we packaged it, I guess, was infrastructure for speculative building. Now, of course, the HRA, we were working on specific developments. It wasn't speculative. We were doing infrastructure for a discrete project set. But for their portion, they were funding speculative infrastructure. And so their project was just the infrastructure because they weren't banking, so to speak, on the future specific houses that were in our agreements. That was the crux of the project definition confusion, if you will. So to answer your question, yes, we know that now moving forward, unless it's that sort of situation, which they, us, a lot of parties in their service territory are being very keen and aware of now.
Yeah.
We will make sure that we understand which is which moving forward.
Okay.
Long-winded answer, but it's a long-winded problem.
What's the criteria for prevailing wage? How do they figure it?
How so, Commissioner? What do you mean the criteria?
Well, how do they know what prevailing wage is?
Oh, so prevailing wage is established by county, and so it's posted, the state
The
posted.
state
Yep,
establishes it for each county?
So does the, I believe the federal government also has prevailing wage documentation, so you can, there's different forums, and actually Mr. Nelson could speak to that too, but they have ways you can look it up for a county, for each classification, labor, carpenter, et cetera, excavator, and that's how you.
Yeah, and it isn't just a wage, it's wages and benefits, I think, and
Correct.
so it's pretty, complete, but then it is posted.
Yep, it is posted, and I will say that I have all of them, and they were all submitted to the IRRR before we recognized this was an issue. The developer provided prevailing wage certification and certified payroll for the infrastructure portion of the project. We had all of that as we were required to collect. But, yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Is there a motion to approve Resolution 2414?
I'll so move.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second that.
Any further comments or questions? I would just thank the developer for staying with it. This wasn't an easy decision for anybody, but we appreciate your commitment to the project and to our county. So thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate, as the developers, you guys' understanding of the misunderstanding of a lot of things that were just really muddy, and now that we're coming to the end of it, and we've realized that there's, some things that could come back to us later on and, hurt us financially. It's not something that we would want to take on that risk, and we would rather just call it done right now and move forward in a different direction.
Any other comments or thoughts at this stage? If not, we'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous approval of Resolution 2414. Now it takes us to Resolution 2415. Resolution authorizing the director to apply for grant funds of up to $400,000 from the IRRR for the purpose of supporting construction of new single-family homes in the city of Grand Marais.
Board, as you can imagine, we're very specific about how this application is going to be submitted. And in fact, I just submitted this afternoon the preliminary. And this, of course, as you know, is for the Nanabijou, I'm so sorry. Norriscogan project. Yesterday was Scandi Bijou for EDA. I'm just mixing a bunch of terms together. The Norriscogan project on the east side of town on the north side of 5th Street. And they have, like every project ever in Grand Marais, run into cost challenges, specifically with regard to the infrastructure and earthwork. And so their mission, because this is very much a mission-driven project, is to provide, there's multiple components. It's a nonprofit that's going to be building the homes, but this application is actually for the LLC entity that will be building the infrastructure. So they want to do the site work under the LLC for liability reasons and for funding reasons, and then the nonprofit entity will build the homes. So we're applying for infrastructure for speculative home building at this site. The city of Grand Marais, another thing going for this project, I'll say, is that it's already been platted, it's been approved. So we're not really subject to some, wild cards in that regard. So the developer's already proceeding. And if we are successful, they will start construction in the spring. They have a contractor who's already lined up. They have bids. And this really is a function of just running into exorbitant cost amounts. I opened bids this afternoon for the Heights. I can get to that later. So every project is having cost problems. But this just enables me to actually apply for those funds through IRRR. And then we would submit them in the next 2 weeks for, I believe the meeting is in November. Any questions?
I'd move to approve Resolution 2415.
I second.
Moved and seconded, for Resolution 2415. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries.
Thank you, Board.
Next item, board member application for the District 3 HRA seat. Our process is to make a recommendation and send it to the county board for approval. Any discussion or thoughts on the applicant? I thought he did a good job of explaining his background and his interest in housing and specifically in really it's hard to, I'm at a loss for a word, but he's been working on his own house to making it as energy efficient as possible. I guess energy efficiency is one of the things that caught my eye in there. And so, any further thoughts?
I happen to know him personally and his wife, and he's worked on many projects that I've designed as an engineer. And in fact, I'm helping him with his current project as well. But very smart man, really thinks this is a good fit for him for some service. And both Bill and I recognized that he would be a good person to ask for this job, and we did.
Should we approve a resolution or make a motion to send the application to the county board?
Also move.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any further thoughts? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Look forward to having a fifth member here soon, a full slate of commissioners. Other businesses, directors.
Welcome some applications as well. Obviously, they're in a transition already.
Are they constrained by district?
No, they're constrained instead by city and county
Yeah.
appointments.
So you said Howard and Steve, they're both out of the city.
Correct. Those are both county, but I
And
think
Myron
that,
too, right?
yeah.
Myron is city.
Myron City, I think, yeah.
Okay.
I think Myron City. So I think it's
Okay.
2 and 1.
So two out of the city, okay.
Yeah. And the Mayor Benson, we talked at the meeting yesterday, at the EDA meeting, the city is trying to also broadcast general openings because we were just talking about this for the meeting, it's in a smaller community, there are lots of people wear lots of hats and it's hard sometimes to get folks to volunteer like you folks for stuff like this. So if you know of any good-hearted, well-meaning and interested folks, send them to the EDA. So that was a little add to the agenda. I told them I would plug, and I plugged. The Heights, again, tax abatement was approved. So that was the last public approval that we needed for financing purposes. This morning at 11, I opened the sealed bid. There was one bid received for that project per the IRRR guidelines with the sealed bid. That whole project is subject to prevailing wage, and we knew that. So they are now they're very likely selecting that bid. They didn't have another one. And so they're going to work with that contractor to better fine-tune numbers. As of right now, the objective is that that will be under construction in the spring. They'll order the modular units and then start as soon as the weather cooperates is the plan. But I just wanted to slightly celebrate. One, we got a bid. And two, tax abatement is the first time it's been actually approved in Cook County or Grand Marais for housing. And so we're pushing the envelope on things to get stuff done.
May I ask what region of the world the builder is from?
What region of the world?
Yes.
North America. Yes, the builder's from the Arrowhead region. Yep. Any other questions about the heights generally? Okay. The other thing, which I included in the email that is worth celebrating in my director's report, is that we submitted a $1.3 million grant request for Minnesota Housing, and we were selected for these 16 units on Highway 61. So we'll have more to do, which is the goal. And so I just got an email from Minnesota Housing yesterday, and they're sort of now getting the documentation together for folks on what the process is, next steps, and they're still a little, as I understand, a little bit on the short staff side, so they're trying to catch up. But the anticipation there is you can't really do much from a precision perspective until you know if you have a giant funding source like that. So, there were some estimates on the front end for the application, and now this developer has to go and have some more meaningful conversations over the winter. The anticipation would be a summer construction start for this as well.
And would this funding include prevailing wage?
Correct.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and actually we're waiting to see what they mean by that. And that will be in their grant contract. But the developer has worked with Minnesota Housing before, and they know that the state ties prevailing wage to the projects. So project definition has become increasingly important when you're talking about what applies to what. Is it the dollars that the grant is going toward? Is that the project? Is it the whole total development costs? And so actually, Chair, I shared this with you at the end of November. I was asked to speak at a Greater Minnesota Coalition of Housing. One of the topics is prevailing wage. They want to have the input from Greater Minnesota on how that affects housing, or how it does it, or what we think about it. They at the Capitol get lobbied quite a bit from trade unions, understandably, and so they're trying to get a wider perspective on the challenges. So we have an opportunity to try to provide some insight. So anyway, another one in the pipeline. Again, not all of these happen, obviously, so it's good to have different things moving forward. Any questions about that yet to be named project? I don't think we're going to name it 100 West Highway, 1800 West Highway 61. It's not that creative.
Satus Bluffs is free.
It's available. We'll take that under advisement. I suspect they're not going to take that, but I'll let them know. Otherwise, financials are attached. Any questions on the financials? It's pretty pro forma. Go ahead, Chair. Oh, sorry, I thought you were going to say something. The last thing under my report is just a general EDA update. President Serba was out of the country, I think, for the last couple of weeks, and so asked if I'd be willing to assist yesterday with the board meeting to help walk through the packet, which I did. But I'm done as interim, just for the record. I'm no longer the interim EDA director. And we are in the middle of the hiring process. I am remaining on the hiring committee. I just want to update you. We have interviewed we have one more interview tomorrow, and then we will be moving a few folks, at least two, through to a second interview process. The objective of the board actually is to have somebody to recommend at a special meeting at the end of the month to the board. I believe we scheduled it for the 29th. So, of course, it's all subject to them accepting and working all of the details. But
Finding a place to live.
Yeah. That's been a very big part of the conversation, actually. Some of the folks that we've interviewed are from out of state, and so there's a lot of conversation about hybrid and what that looks like, what the expectations. So, recognizing that.
Be some nice apartments available in May.
If only it was sooner than that. 6 months is a long time. But yes, the timing didn't quite work out on that one. But I wanted to let you know that we are proceeding, and we have a couple of promising candidates, and we're hopeful that that person will be in the seat by the end of the year, and the EDA can carry on with its important work.
I'd just note that the EDA really turned things around from the first go-through with one applicant to now several applicants, and from, I don't know how many were there, 8 or 9, or
About 9 applicants, yeah.
and much better qualified, it sounds like, and that's in part due to Jason's input that you got to pay up for talent, and in this case, that's what it took, and all of a sudden, I think the EDA is on the road that they need to be on, or they want to be on for sure, of having a good qualified executive director to go from here. So thanks to Jason for his input that helped that along.
Thank you. The board was very, I will say the board was very open to it. I think they're very uniform in trying to make sure that we get a solid person in the seat to help carry on the projects that are already happening. And there's some big things happening right now with Tack Harbor, with the Northwest, the transfer station, with the golf course. Those are big conversations.
Yeah.
And so they want to make sure they get somebody who knows how to sort of navigate the economic development world and knows some resources. So we're optimistic and hopeful. It's just a little bit of a bump until that person starts and then gets up to speed. So I think 2025, wow, that's crazy to say. 2025 will be a busy but eventful year for the EDA, and I think in a good way. But as that materializes, I'll keep you updated. That was all from me, unless you had questions. Okay.
Other topics? Anybody have one? I guess I would just note, so far it looks like Commissioner O'Brien and I will attend the Northeast Housing Opportunity Workshop next week down in Duluth, and it looked like a reasonable agenda, so.
I wouldn't say that. I'm on it. I would.
But looking forward to it. And I am interested in hearing a bigger regional picture of dealing with the IRRR and Minnesota housing,
I
especially.
think they need to, and sometimes these things happen, so I don't want to, I just want it to be clear that we really do appreciate and value the IRR's contribution to Cook County. And
Well,
hope to
they
continue.
were pretty well turned around by the state legislation as well. I mean, kind of going from one manner of operation in a, this is their history, into a new legislative regime that is different, and so I admire them for taking that on. Committee reports.
Brief Finance Committee report. We received the draft audit from Redpath this is for fiscal year 2023. The good news is that the audit, they found no material irregularities with the finances, and so we're prepared to issue a clean audit for us, and we expect to receive that sometime in November.
And we did authorize a progress payment
Yeah,
for the work
we've
that
authorized
they've
payment to
done
Redpath,
also. They've
progress payment
asked for
of $7,000 to Redpath for that.
Any other, I don't know, we don't have any other committees except the Personnel Committee, I think, to meet at end of year, but any commissioner items for the good of the group here, including the county commissioner items?
I'm not a county commissioner, but I would remind folks, not a commissioner of any sort, we have next Thursday a legislative luncheon that the chamber's hosting for Representative Scraba will be here, Senator Hochschild, and I think Roy, not Smith, from IRRR will be here representing IRRR. And so I'll be attending that and meeting with them individually to just talk about our goals and some things that we're thinking about from a legislative perspective this next year. I just met with Linda Jurek this morning to map some of that out. So just letting you know that they're going to be up in the neck of the woods, and we have a chance to get in front of them and share what we're trying to get done and get some feedback from them.
Is that a public meeting where we're encouraged to attend, or is it?
It's not a public meeting in the sense that, like this is. It's talking with Director Jurek. We're not trying to be exclusive. She's not. It's not my meeting. She's not trying to be exclusive, so people could come.
Other questions or answers or thoughts?
I'd love answers if you have them. That would be great.
Otherwise, is there a motion to adjourn? Don't be shy.
I'll also move.
Is there a second to the motion? All those in favor say aye.
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 I think I'd have to go back through the minutes, but this may be the fastest commissioners
Yes.
meeting
Yeah.
we've
Well,
had in our history.
I'm sure that Jason could use
You're on a
the
tight
break.
ship.
I'm not going to prolong. Thank you. This is great. Good work, everybody.
Yeah.
Jason, do you still need carpenters or contractors' names, numbers?